Dr. Hyjin Park walked slowly through the strange forest on planet Kepler 442b. The trees around her looked like they were made of glass. Their clear bark glowed with soft blue and green lights that moved up and down like water flowing. The leaves made gentle music when the wind touched them. It sounded like tiny bells ringing far away. Hyjin had been on this planet for 2 weeks now. She was a scientist who studied plants from other worlds. Her job was to collect samples and learn about the life forms here. But this planet was different from anything she had seen before. The plant seemed almost alive in a way that Earth plants were not. She carried a small device that tested the air around her. Today it was acting strange. The numbers kept changing every few minutes. Hyjin stopped walking and checked the device again. The readings made no sense. Something was affecting the air in ways her machine could not understand. A sound came from above her head. It was soft but clear, like a baby cat crying mixed with the sound of wind through a cave. Hyjin looked up at the glowing branches. Nothing moved. But the sound came again. This time it was closer. Hyjin felt her heart beat faster. The other scientists had told her there were no dangerous animals in this part of the forest, but they had only been here for a few weeks. They did not know everything about this world yet. She put her hand on the emergency button on her belt. If something went wrong, she could call for help. The sound came a third time. Now it was very close. Something small fell from the tree branches and landed on a rock covered with soft green moss. The rock was only a few steps away from where Hyjin stood. When she saw what had landed, Hyjin stopped breathing for a moment. It was unlike anything in her textbooks or computer files. The creature was about the size of a house cat, but it looked like a tiny dragon from old Earth stories. It had a long neck and small wings folded against its back. Its forelegs ended in what looked like hands with fingers. The most amazing thing about the creature was its color. Its scales were pure white, so white they seemed to glow with their own light against the golden glow of the forest. The creature's eyes were the most beautiful thing Hyjin had ever seen. They were large and seemed to hold all the colors of the rainbow. When the light hit them, they sparkled like precious stones. The tiny dragon tilted its head and looked right at Hyjin. Its eyes showed intelligence. Not animal intelligence, but something deeper. Something that reminded her of the way very smart people looked when they were thinking hard about a difficult problem. Hyjin knew she should step back. She should call her team and report what she had found. But something about the creature made her want to stay. It did not look dangerous. It looked curious. The same way she felt when she discovered a new type of plant. The dragon and the human looked at each other for a long time. Neither one moved. It was as if they were both trying to figure out what the other one was thinking. The forest around them seemed to grow quieter. Even the musical leaves stopped their gentle ringing. Then something wonderful happened. The tiny dragon slowly lifted one of its front legs toward Hyjin. Its small hand was open, palm facing up. The gesture was so clearly an invitation that Hyjin understood it right away. The creature wanted to touch her hand. Hyjin looked at the dragon's outstretched hand. Every rule of first contact said she should not touch an unknown alien creature. She could catch a disease. The creature might be dangerous. She might hurt it by accident. But something deep in her heart told her this was important. This moment would change everything. Slowly, carefully, Hyjin reached out her own hand. Her fingers were shaking a little inside her protective glove. The dragon waited patiently as she moved her hand closer. When their hands were almost touching, Hyjin paused. This was the moment of choice. Once they touched, there would be no going back. The dragon made a soft sound. Not the crying sound from before. This was gentler. Like a mother singing to a baby. Its rainbow eyes looked directly into Hyjin's eyes. In that look, she saw something that made her decision easy. She saw friendship. She saw trust. She saw the beginning of something beautiful. Hyjin placed her gloved palm against the dragon's small hand. The moment they touched, warmth spread up her arm. It was not heat from the outside. It was warmth from inside her heart. Like the feeling of coming home after a long journey. Or the feeling of meeting a friend you had been missing for years. The dragon's fingers closed gently around Hyjin's finger. Its grip was soft but firm, like a child holding their parent's hand while crossing a street. In that simple touch, Hyjin felt something that changed her understanding of the universe. This was not just an animal touching a human. This was one intelligent being reaching out to another across the vast darkness of space. Through her helmet radio, Heejin whispered to her team back at the base. Her voice was full of wonder and excitement. Base camp, this is Dr. Park. I have made contact with a local life form. It is unlike anything we expected. I think it is trying to communicate with me. The dragon seemed to understand that she was talking to someone else. It made a different sound now, sharper and more complex, like it was trying to join the conversation. Its eyes grew brighter, and Heejin had the strange feeling that it understood more than it was showing. The tiny creature tightened its grip on her finger just a little. Not enough to hurt, but enough to make a point. It was not planning to let go anytime soon, and somehow Heejin knew that was exactly what was supposed to happen. This meeting was not an accident. It was the beginning of something that would change both their worlds forever. In the glowing forest of an alien world, a woman from Earth and a tiny dragon had found each other. And in that simple touch of hand to hand, they had started writing a new chapter in the story of life among the stars. The tiny white dragon did not let go of Heejin's finger, even when she carefully sat down on the soft forest ground. The creature kept its gentle but strong hold on her hand. Heejin spoke quietly into her helmet radio, telling her team about this amazing meeting, but her voice shook with excitement as she tried to describe what was happening. Base camp, this is Dr. Park. The creature is still here with me. It will not release my hand. I think this is very important. Please send Dr. Choi and the communication team. I believe this creature is trying to tell me something. The dragon began making new sounds. These were not random noises like an animal might make. They had patterns and rhythm. Heejin had studied languages in school. She knew the difference between animal sounds and real communication. What she was hearing now was definitely language. The tiny dragon was trying to talk to her. Commander Kim's voice came through her radio. He sounded worried and excited at the same time. Dr. Park, stay exactly where you are. Do not try to communicate further until our experts arrive. We do not know if this creature might carry diseases or if it could be dangerous to you. The dragon suddenly made a sharp, loud sound. Its rainbow eyes flashed brighter. It let go of Heejin's finger and pressed both its small hands against her helmet, right over the speakers. The message was clear. The creature had understood what the commander said, and it did not like being called dangerous. Heejin looked into the dragon's intelligent eyes. Something told her that taking off her helmet would be the right thing to do. It would show the creature that she trusted it. The planet's air was safe for humans to breathe. The team had tested it many times, but removing her helmet would go against all safety rules. Dr. Park, do not remove your protective equipment, Commander Kim said quickly. He could see what she was thinking through the camera on her helmet, but Heejin was already reaching for the helmet locks. The dragon watched her carefully. When she lifted the clear helmet off her head and set it beside her on the ground, the creature made a soft, happy sound. Like a cat purring or a bird singing, the dragon immediately placed its small hands on both sides of Heejin's face. Its touch was warm and gentle. Then something incredible happened. Pictures began appearing in Heejin's mind. But these were not her own memories. They were images from someone else's point of view. She saw the human research base through the dragon's eyes. But these were not new pictures. The timestamps that somehow appeared in her mind showed these images were months old. The dragon had been watching the human team since they first arrived on the planet. It had studied their behavior, learned their daily routines, and even picked up pieces of their language. Heejin gasped as more images flowed into her mind. The dragon showed her views of human scientists working in their laboratories. It had watched them collect plant samples, run experiments, and talk to each other. The creature had been learning about humans for a very long time before deciding to make contact. The most amazing discovery was still coming. The dragon showed Heejin how it saw the humans as individual people. Each person appeared in its mind with different colors and feelings around them. Some humans glowed with curiosity and kindness. Others showed fear or aggression. The dragon had been studying human emotions and personalities. Then the dragon showed Heejin how it saw her. In the creature's vision, she was surrounded by bright, warm colors. The dragon saw her curiosity about new life forms. It saw her respect for the plants and animals she studied. It saw her gentle nature and her excitement about learning new things. This was why the dragon had chosen her for first contact. The mental connection began to fade, but before it ended completely, the dragon shared one more important image. Heejin saw herself through alien eyes, but this time she understood what the creature was showing her. The dragon had not just picked her randomly. It had been waiting for the right moment to approach the human it trusted most. When the connection ended, Hye-jin felt different. She now understood that this meeting was not accidental. The dragon had planned this carefully. It had studied humans and decided that Hye-jin was the best choice for making peaceful contact between their species. The dragon took her hand again. This time it wove its small fingers between hers in a way that felt protective, like a promise that they would face whatever came next together. Hye-jin could feel the creature's intelligence through their touch. This was not a simple animal. This was a being as smart as any human, maybe smarter. "Base camp," Hye-jin said softly into her radio. "You need to understand something. This creature has been watching us for months. It knows who we are and what we do. It chose to make contact with me specifically. This is not first contact. This is the result of a very careful decision." Commander Kim's voice was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Dr. Park, are you saying this creature has been studying us?" "Yes," Hye-jin replied. "And it understands our language better than we thought possible. It knew exactly what you said about diseases and danger, and it did not appreciate being discussed like a threat." The dragon made another soft sound and pressed closer to Hye-jin's side. Through their joined hands, she could feel its emotions. The creature was nervous about what would happen when more humans arrived. But it also felt determined to continue this contact, no matter what the risks might be. Dr. Choi's voice came through the radio. "Dr. Park, we are on our way to your location. Please maintain contact with the creature if possible. This could be the most important discovery in human history." Hye-jin looked down at the tiny white dragon sitting beside her. Its rainbow eyes met hers, and she saw wisdom there that was much older than its small body suggested. Whatever this creature was, wherever it came from, it had chosen to trust her with something very important. The dragon squeezed her hand gently and began to make new sounds. These were different from before, more complex and musical. Hye-jin had the feeling it was trying to teach her its language, and somehow she knew that learning to communicate with this remarkable being would change everything humans thought they knew about life in the universe. As the alien sun moved across the crystal sky above them, a woman from Earth and a tiny dragon sat together in a glowing forest, beginning the slow process of building a bridge between two worlds that were more alike than either species had ever imagined. 3 days had passed since Hye-jin first met the tiny white dragon. The creature had not left her side for more than a few minutes during all that time. The research team had built a special living area around Hye-jin's shelter pod. They filled it with cameras and testing equipment to watch every moment between the human and the alien creature. Dr. So-young Choi had moved her workstation right next to the observation room. She was the team's expert on alien life forms. For 3 days she had been writing down everything the dragon did. What she discovered amazed everyone on the team. "Look at this information," Dr. Choi said to Commander Kim, showing him her tablet computer. "The creature learns faster than any animal we know. It has been using our tablet computers without any teaching. In just 3 days it has learned to read and write human letters." The dragon was sitting in Hye-jin's lap, holding a thin writing stick in its small claws. Hye-jin had decided to call the creature Biol, because its white scales glowed like a star in the dark. On the tablet screen, Biol had been practicing human writing. First it copied simple shapes, then it learned to write whole words. Now it was trying to write something completely new. Commander Kim came closer to see what Biol was writing. The words appeared slowly on the screen. "Humans think small. Biol people think big. Stars are roads, not lights." Everyone in the observation room became very quiet. Jin-Woo Lee was the team's communication expert. He almost dropped his coffee cup when he read the message. "Commander, if this creature comes from a civilization that travels between stars, then we are not the advanced species here." "That is exactly what I was thinking," Commander Kim replied. His face looked worried. "Dr. Park, has the creature shown you anything about others of its kind?" Hye-jin gently petted Biol's head. The dragon made a soft, happy sound that had become familiar over the past few days. "It shares pictures with me sometimes when we connect minds. I see cities that float in the clouds. I see great ships that swim between stars like fish in an ocean. But there is something else too. A feeling of being lost or searching for something." Biol looked up at Hye-jin with its beautiful rainbow eyes. It placed one small paw over her heart. This had become their private signal. It meant the dragon wanted to share the deeper connection they had discovered. Hye-jin nodded and closed her eyes. opening her mind to the mental bridge between them. This time the images were different from before. Hee-jin saw vast networks of tiny dragons spread across many star systems. Each individual dragon was connected to others through bonds similar to what she shared with Biol. But there were empty spaces in the network, dark areas where connections had been broken or destroyed. Through the shared vision, Hee-jin understood that Biol was an explorer. Its people had sent it out to investigate one of these dead zones where dragon connections had been lost. Instead of finding the cause of the problem, Biol had discovered humans. And humans, it turned out, could form the same deep connections that dragons treasured. But humans were also different in important ways. They were stronger and more adaptable than dragons had expected. When the mental connection ended, Biol immediately began writing a new message on the tablet. Hee-jin people strong. Help Biol people heal the dark spaces, yes? The research team stared at the screen in complete shock. They had come to this planet to study plants and rocks. Now they were being asked to help an ancient alien civilization solve a mysterious problem that affected multiple star systems. Dr. Choi spoke first. Are we understanding this correctly? This creature is asking for our help with something that is happening across many worlds? Biol wrote another message. Dark spaces make Biol people sick. Cannot think together when connections broken. Hee-jin people think different. Maybe can fix what Biol people cannot fix. Commander Kim sat down heavily in his chair. The implications were enormous. Dr. Park, do you have any idea what kind of help they need from us? Before Hee-jin could answer, Biol projected new images directly into her mind. She saw human spaceships larger and more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. But these ships were not being used for war or conquest. They were rescue missions. Humans and dragons were working together to reconnect the broken parts of the dragon network. The visions showed humans using their different way of thinking to solve problems that had puzzled the dragons for a very long time. Humans could think in ways that dragon minds found difficult. Where dragons saw patterns and logic, humans saw possibilities and creative solutions. We are not the primitive species in this situation, Hee-jin said slowly, understanding flooding through her. We are the solution to a problem they cannot solve by themselves. Engineer Mi-rae-yoon had been quiet during most of the discussion. Now she spoke up with excitement in her voice. If they can give us the technology to travel between stars, and we can help them solve their network problem, both species would benefit greatly. Biol chirped happily and showed them one final set of images. The research base appeared, but much larger than it was now. Humans and dragons worked side by side on projects that seemed both scientific and artistic. Ships landed regularly, bringing more members of both species together. At the center of it all, the tiny white dragon and the Korean scientists sat together, their bond having become the foundation for an alliance between worlds. The message appeared on Biol's tablet, without the creature even touching the screen. The quantum connection seemed to be growing stronger every hour. Home is where hands hold hands across the stars. Commander Kim looked around at his team. Everyone's face showed a mixture of fear and excitement. They were being offered the chance to join something bigger than anything humans had ever imagined. But it would also mean taking responsibility for problems they did not fully understand yet. This is not a decision I can make alone, the commander said finally. This affects all of humanity. We need to contact Earth and discuss this with people much more important than us. Biol climbed up onto Hee-jin's shoulder and whispered something directly into her mind. The message was meant only for her, but she shared it with the group. Biol says the choice must be made soon. The dark spaces are growing larger, and whatever is causing them knows about humans now. The tiny dragon's words sent a chill through everyone in the room. They were not just being offered an alliance. They were being warned about a threat that was already aware of Earth's existence. Dr. Jung-ho Nam was the smartest person on the research team when it came to understanding how the universe worked at its most basic level. He studied quantum physics, which dealt with the strange behavior of the tiniest particles that made up everything. For days, he had been trying to understand what Biol was showing them through its shared visions. Finally, he figured out something that amazed everyone. I understand it now, Jung-ho announced to the team during their morning meeting. His tablet showed complex math equations that hurt to look at directly. Biol and its people are not just telepathic. They are quantum entangled with others of their species across vast distances of space and time. Commander Kim frowned as he tried to understand. Can you explain that in simpler terms, Doctor? Jung-ho pointed to his equations. Imagine if every human could share thoughts and feelings with every other human instantly, no matter how far apart they were. That is how Biel's people live. Their consciousness exists partially in quantum superposition. Each individual is both here and connected to their entire species at the same time. Biel sat on Hyejin's shoulder, listening carefully to the conversation. Occasionally it reached out to touch Jung-ho's tablet screen and correct his math. The physicist had been shocked to discover that the tiny creature understood advanced mathematics better than most human scientists. It approached problems from angles that human minds found very difficult to grasp. Dr. Choi studied the corrected equations with growing amazement. But how do humans fit into this system? We cannot quantum entangle with each other the way they do. Commander Kim stood near the window, looking out at the crystal forest. Over the past few days, other small white forms had begun appearing among the glowing trees. More dragons had arrived, but they kept their distance, watching and waiting. I do not think we are meant to join their network directly. I think we are meant to fix it. Biol made an excited chirping sound and suddenly projected images directly into the minds of everyone in the room. This was a new ability that had developed just hours earlier. Now the dragon could share its thoughts with multiple humans at the same time. The vision showed human ships that were larger and more advanced than anything in Earth's current fleet. But these were not ships built for conquest or exploration in the usual sense. They were rescue vessels. The images showed humans working alongside dragons like Biol to re-establish broken quantum connections. Human creativity and stubborn determination proved crucial to solving problems that had puzzled the ancient dragon civilization for thousands of years. We are not the primitive species in this scenario, whispered engineer Mireille Yoon, who had been silent during most of the briefing. We are the solution to a problem they cannot solve themselves. The visions continued, showing humans and dragons working together in ways that seemed impossible but somehow made perfect sense. Humans had something the dragons desperately needed: the ability to think in ways that quantum consciousness could not. Where dragon minds followed logical patterns and predictable paths, human minds could leap to unexpected solutions and create new possibilities from nothing. Biol projected one more image that made everyone in the room gasp with wonder. They saw the research base, but expanded far beyond its current size. Humans and dragons worked side by side on projects that combined science and art in beautiful ways. Ships arrived regularly from both Earth and Dragon worlds, bringing more members of both species together. The base had become a meeting place for two civilizations learning to become one. Dr. Choi asked the question that was on everyone's mind. What exactly are these dark spaces you keep showing us? What happened to break the connections between your people? Biol's rainbow eyes dimmed slightly, and sadness flowed through its mental link with the humans. The dragon showed them new images that were harder to look at. Vast empty regions where dragon colonies had simply gone silent. Worlds where advanced civilizations had withered away not from war or natural disaster, but from the gradual loss of their ability to connect with each other. The images showed something else that made the humans feel cold with fear. Dark shapes moving between stars, but these were not physical objects. They were more like holes in space itself, consuming not planets or resources, but the connections between living beings. The dragons called this enemy the Void Hunger, and it had been systematically destroying their network for thousands of years. It feeds on isolation. Hyejin translated as, Biol's thoughts flowed through their connection. When people cannot reach out to each other, when they feel alone and hopeless, the Void Hunger grows stronger. It has been cutting the links between dragon worlds, making each population more vulnerable to despair. Jung-ho studied his equations with new understanding. If this entity can track and consume quantum connections, then the dragon's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. Their network makes them visible to this predator. But humans are different, Hyejin continued, interpreting more of Biol's mental communication. Our bonds form through choice rather than biology. We create connections that this void hunger cannot easily detect or destroy. And when our connections are broken, we have the ability to build new ones. Biol wrote a new message on its tablet. Humans build bridges where others see walls. Humans make families from strangers. Void hunger cannot eat what humans create because humans create from nothing. The tiny dragon climbed into Hyejin's lap, and shared something meant only for her. When she heard it, her eyes widened with understanding. She looked at her colleagues with a mixture of excitement and determination that had not been there before. Biol says the Dragon Network chose this sector of space specifically because of us. We are not just potential allies in this fight. We are the weapon they have been searching for to defeat the Void Hunger. Commander Kim felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. A weapon against something that feeds on loneliness and despair. How can any weapon fight something like that? Biol's response appeared on the tablet without the creature touching it. Love is the only force in universe that grows stronger when shared. Humans love many things. Dragons love few things but love them forever. Together, love becomes infinite. The room fell silent as everyone tried to process what they had learned. They were being asked to join an ancient war against an enemy that consumed hope itself. But they were also being told that their greatest human qualities, their ability to form unexpected friendships, their refusal to give up, their talent for finding solutions where none seemed to exist, made them uniquely qualified to win that war. The message that appeared next on BL's screen made the choice seem both simple and terrifying. Void Hunger comes to Earth soon. Fight together or fall alone. Over the next few weeks, more dragons arrived at the research site. Each new arrival made the situation more amazing and more frightening at the same time. The tiny beings all had the same beautiful rainbow eyes and pure white scales as Biol, but each one had its own personality that shone through in different ways. Some dragons were bold explorers like Biol, always curious about new things and eager to learn. Others were careful watchers who studied everything before making any moves. A few seemed to be what Hye-Jin could only describe as cosmic engineers. Their minds could do mathematical calculations that made quantum physics look like simple addition and subtraction. Dr. Hyun-Soo Kang was the team's expert on cultures and societies. He had been studying how the dragons interacted with each other and with the humans. What he discovered made everyone realize how little they understood about their new alien friends. They are showing us their history, Dr. Kang reported during the daily team meeting. Not just through those mental connections, but through art, mathematics, and even what I can only call music. Commander, their civilization is older than our entire solar system. The dragons had begun creating beautiful crystal structures throughout the forest. They grew these structures from the planet's natural crystal formations, using techniques that seemed to blend science and art into something completely new. These crystal structures hummed with energy, and the team's sensitive equipment detected quantum fluctuations coming from them. They were not just decorative. They were functional, possibly serving as communication devices or navigation beacons. Biol had stayed close to Hye-Jin during this busy period, but its behavior had changed in subtle ways. The tiny dragon spent long hours in deep meditation-like states. During these times, its eyes glowed brighter than usual, and Hye-Jin could sense through their connection that it was talking to others of its kind across impossible distances. When Biol finally shared what it had learned from these long-distance conversations, the news shocked the human team. The information came through their mental link in images and feelings that Hye-Jin had to translate into words for the others. The dark spaces are not random, Hye-Jin announced, her face pale with the implications. Something is deliberately cutting the quantum links between dragon populations, an ancient enemy that feeds on isolation and despair. The dragons call it the Void Hunger, and it has been methodically destroying their network for thousands of years. Security Chief Dongmin Park immediately began writing urgent reports to send back to Earth Command. He wanted to recommend military preparations and defensive strategies. But Biol's next communication stopped him before he could finish. The tiny dragon projected new images directly into the minds of everyone in the room. They saw vast shadowy entities moving between stars. These things were not physical creatures like spaceships or monsters. They were more like living darkness that consumed connections themselves. They fed on the bonds between individuals, between species, between entire worlds. Earth, with its complex web of human relationships and its growing ambitions to explore space, would be a particularly rich target for such creatures. The Void Hunger had already detected humanity's existence and was slowly moving toward their region of space. "But why are you telling us this?" asked Commander Kim, his face showing the fear they all felt. "If this Void Hunger is so powerful, what can we possibly do against entities that have been destroying civilizations for thousands of years?" Bial's response came through Hyojin with crystal clarity. Humans build bridges where others see walls. Humans make families from strangers. The void. Hunger cannot consume what humans create because humans create from nothing. Dragons think in patterns. Humans think in possibilities. The tiny creature climbed up to Hyojin's shoulder and whispered something directly into her mind. This message was meant only for her. But when she heard it, her eyes widened with sudden understanding. When she looked at her colleagues, they saw a determination that had not been there moments before. Bial says the Dragon Network chose this sector of space specifically because of us, she announced. We are not just allies in this fight. We are the weapon they have been searching for to defeat the void hunger. Dr. Choi asked the obvious question. How can humans be a weapon against something that powerful? Bial wrote a new message on its tablet, the words appearing faster than it had ever written before. Void hunger eats hope. Humans make hope from nothing. When void hunger tries to eat human hope grows stronger. This confuses and weakens the enemy. The dragon showed them more images. They saw humans and dragons working together in ways that created new types of connections. These hybrid bonds were invisible to the void hunger because they combined quantum consciousness with human creativity in ways that had never existed. Before it, Jung-ho studied the mathematical implications and became very excited. If I understand this correctly, human-dragon partnerships could create quantum connections that actually grow stronger when attacked. Instead of being consumed by this void hunger, they would feed on its attempts to destroy them. Like a mirror that reflects darkness back as light, added engineer Yoon, beginning to grasp the possibilities. Bial chirped happily and projected one final vision that took everyone's breath away. They saw the future as the Dragon Network hoped it could be. Humans and dragons worked together across hundreds of star systems. Not as conquerors, but as healers. Wherever the void hunger had left empty spaces, human-dragon teams replanted the seeds of connection and community. But the most amazing part of the vision was what happened to the void hunger itself. Instead of being destroyed, it was transformed. The ancient entity that had fed on loneliness for so long was slowly taught how to create connections instead of consuming them. Its cosmic hunger was finally satisfied not by taking, but by giving. That might just be wishful thinking, Hyojin admitted when the vision ended, but Bial believes that humans and dragons together can do more than just fight darkness. We can teach it to become light. The tablet displayed one final message. War against void hunger begins soon. Humans must choose, fight together or lose everything separately. Choice must be made now. Commander Kim looked around at his team, seeing the mixture of terror and hope on their faces. They were being asked to make a decision that would affect all of humanity, and they were running out of time to make it. The Dragon delegation ship arrived like nothing the humans had ever imagined. It descended from the amber sky of Kepler 442b like a living creature rather than a machine. Its hull flowed and changed shape as it moved, covered in the same beautiful scales as the tiny dragons, but shifting through colors that had no names in human language. When the massive ship landed in the clearing the research team had prepared, beings emerged that made even Biol and its companions seem small. These elder dragons stood nearly 2 meters tall while keeping the same basic shape as their smaller relatives. Their scales shifted through impossible colors and their eyes held the wisdom of ages. The lead dragon introduced itself through the translation network that Biol had established with the humans. It called itself Elder Seola, and when it spoke through the quantum link, every human on the planet felt the weight of its ancient knowledge. Children of Earth. Elder Seola's voice filled their minds with warmth and respect. We have watched your species since you first looked up at the stars with longing. We have seen you struggle and grow, build and sometimes destroy, but always reaching for something greater than yourselves. In this quality, you are unique among all the species we have encountered in our long travels. Captain Tae-young Shin had arrived on the delegation ship as Earth's first official representative to meet with an alien species. He was a military officer, trained to stay calm in dangerous situations, but even he felt overwhelmed by the presence of these ancient beings. Elder Seola, we are honored by your visit, Captain Shin said carefully, but we need to understand exactly what you are asking of humanity. Dr. Parks, reports suggest a threat unlike anything we have ever faced. The Elder's response came with a flood of images that showed the true scope of the void hunger's destruction across the galaxy. Solar systems where intelligent species had simply stopped communicating with each other. Planets where advanced civilizations had withered away not from war or natural disaster, but from the gradual loss of their ability to care about anything or anyone. The Dragon Network had been fighting this enemy for thousands of years, but their quantum consciousness was both their greatest strength and their fatal weakness. The Void Hunger could track and consume their connections too easily, using the Dragon's own network against them. Humans think in chaos, Elder Ciola continued, and somehow made it sound like the highest praise possible. Your minds work in ways that quantum logic cannot predict or follow. Your bonds form through choice and emotion rather than biological programming. This makes you invisible to the Void Hunger until you choose to fight it directly. Baeol climbed into Hyojin's lap and added its own thoughts to the conversation. Humans also fix broken things, make new things from old things that seemed useless. Love grows stronger when tested, not weaker like dragon connections. The choice being offered to humanity was both wonderful and terrifying. The dragons possessed technology that could advance human civilization by thousands of years. Faster than light travel, unlimited clean energy, even the quantum consciousness techniques that could link human minds across the vastness of space. All of this would be shared freely with humanity. In exchange, humans would help the dragons develop new strategies against the Void Hunger. Human unpredictability and refusal to give up would be crucial to creating weapons that pure logic could never conceive. But it would mean more than just a military alliance. Some humans would need to bond permanently with dragon partners, becoming hybrid entities capable of operating in both quantum and normal reality. Earth would become a fortress world and training ground for an interstellar war against an enemy that fed on hopelessness itself. The implications were staggering. Human society would need to change in fundamental ways. Children would grow up learning quantum mathematics alongside regular arithmetic. Artists would create works that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Musicians would compose songs that could only be heard through dragon consciousness networks. This is not a decision I can make alone, Captain Shin said, looking around at the assembled team. This affects every person on Earth. We need time to discuss this with our leaders. Elder Ciola's massive head nodded slowly with understanding. We know this choice is difficult, young captain, but you must understand that the Void Hunger approaches whether you choose to fight or not. We have detected its scouts probing the edges of your solar system. The only question is whether you will face this threat as our partners or as isolated prey. Baeol squeezed Hyojin's hand and projected one final image into the minds of everyone present. They saw humans and dragons working together among the stars, not as conquerors but as gardeners. Wherever the Void Hunger had left barren emotional wastelands, the human-dragon teams replanted seeds of hope and connection. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely impossible by any reasonable standard. Which, Hyojin realized, made it absolutely perfect for humanity to attempt. There is something else you should know, Elder Ciola added, its ancient voice carrying a note of hope that had been missing before. In all our thousands of years of fighting the Void Hunger, we have never found a species capable of what we are asking. Until now, humans do not just survive impossible situations. You somehow make impossible situations work in your favor. Captain Shin felt the weight of history pressing down on him. How long do we have to make this decision? The Void Hunger's main force will reach your outer colonies within 2 Earth years, the Elder replied. But its influence spreads faster than its physical presence. Already some of your people report feeling more isolated and hopeless than before. The enemy weakens its targets before it arrives. Baeol wrote a message on its tablet. Hope is humanity's secret weapon. Void Hunger cannot understand hope that grows stronger when attacked. Together, we teach universe new ways to be alive. The tiny dragon looked up at Hyojin with its rainbow eyes and shared a private thought meant only for her. She saw herself and Baeol standing on the bridge of a ship that existed partially in quantum space, leading a fleet toward distant stars where isolated populations waited for rescue. But they were not alone. Beside them stood children who were both human and dragon, beings who embodied the impossible made real. The choice was clear, even if it was terrifying. Humanity could remain safe and small, hoping the Void Hunger would overlook Earth, or they could reach out across the darkness between stars and become something greater than either species could be, alone. As the alien sun set through the crystal trees, Captain Shin made the decision that would change human history forever. Elder Ciola, On behalf of humanity, we accept your alliance. Let us learn to fight the darkness together. 6 months had passed since Captain Shin made the decision that changed everything for humanity. The small research station on Kepler 442b had grown into something that no one could have imagined. It was now a joint facility where humans and dragons worked together on projects that should have been impossible, but somehow functioned perfectly. The crystal structures that the dragons had grown throughout the forest now connected with human technology in ways that amazed both species. Computers that thought with quantum consciousness worked alongside human creativity to solve problems that neither species could handle alone. Ships were being designed that could travel between stars by convincing reality they were already at their destination. Hyojin stood in the newly built observation dome, watching the latest group of human volunteers as they went through the bonding process with their dragon partners. Each pairing created something unique and wonderful. Some combinations resulted in people who could understand mathematics in completely new ways. Others developed an intuitive grasp of quantum mechanics that let them manipulate technology with pure thought. Dr. Yoon had bonded with a dragon engineer and was now creating ships that existed partially in quantum superposition. The vessels could be in multiple places at the same time until they chose which location to become real in. It was like magic, but it was actually advanced science that combined human imagination with dragon quantum knowledge. The first hybrid children will be born next month, Dr. Choi reported, her voice full of wonder and scientific excitement. The genetic integration is beyond anything we thought possible. They are not human or dragon. They are something entirely new. Biol remained perched on its favorite spot on Hyejin's shoulder. Over the months, its pure white scales had begun showing flecks of color that matched Hyejin's moods. This was an unexpected side effect of their deepening bond that neither species had predicted. Through their connection, Hyejin could sense the vast network of dragon consciousness, but it was filtered through her human perspective in ways that made the ancient patterns understandable to her linear thinking. Captain Shin, now promoted to admiral and serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Dragon Collective, reviewed the latest reports from the home solar system. The United Nations has approved the full alliance treaty. Construction begins next month on the first human-dragon hybrid ships. Elder Seolah's timeline gives us maybe 18 months before the void hunger reaches our outer colonies. The preparations for war had transformed humanity in ways both obvious and subtle. Children now learned quantum mathematics alongside regular arithmetic. Artists created works that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. Musicians composed songs that could only be fully heard through the Dragon Consciousness Network. But perhaps most importantly, humans had learned to see connection not as something nice to have, but as a fundamental force necessary for survival. The bonds between people had become stronger and more valued than ever before. "There is something else I need to tell everyone," Hyejin said, her hand moving unconsciously to rest on her abdomen, something that Biel and I discovered during our last deep connection. She shared the vision that had come to them during their morning meditation. It was a glimpse of the far future, decades or perhaps centuries ahead. The void hunger had not just been defeated, it had been transformed. Instead of consuming connections between beings, it had learned to create them. Its ancient loneliness had finally been healed by the combination of dragon wisdom and human stubbornness. In this future vision, the galaxy teemed with new forms of life and consciousness. Hybrid species combined the best qualities of dozens of different worlds. All of these new beings were connected in a web of relationships that made the universe itself aware and caring. It might just be wishful thinking, Hyejin admitted, but Biol believes that humans and dragons together can do more than just fight the darkness. We can teach it to become light. Elder Seolah materialized in the dome through the teleportation network that connected all dragon facilities. Its massive form somehow managed to show both ancient dignity and childlike excitement at the same time. "The first joint expeditions launch tomorrow," the Elder announced. "Teams of humans and dragons will travel to the nearest severed worlds to begin reconnection efforts. It is dangerous work, but essential for our ultimate victory." Biol made a soft chirping sound and projected a private image meant only for Hyejin. She saw herself and her dragon partner, as they would be in the coming year. They stood on the bridge of a ship that existed partially in quantum space, leading a fleet toward a distant star where an isolated dragon colony waited for rescue. But they were not alone in this vision. Beside them stood the hybrid children, human dragon beings who represented the impossible made real. These children would grow up speaking both languages fluently, thinking in both quantum and linear patterns, capable of creating connections that neither parent species could imagine alone. As the twin suns of Kepler 442b set through the crystal trees, painting the sky in colors that existed only on this remarkable world, Haijin felt the truth that had been growing in her heart since that first moment in the forest. This tiny white dragon had reached for her hand in more ways than one. It had reached across the vast emptiness of space and time, across the barriers between different species, to grasp not just her fingers, but the future itself, and it had never intended to let go. The bond they had formed in a moment of curiosity and trust had become the foundation for an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. Humans and dragons would face the darkness together, armed with the most powerful weapon in the universe, the refusal to let anyone face their problems alone. In her pocket, Haijin carried a small crystal that Biol had made for her. It glowed softly with the same light as the dragon's scales, and through it she could feel the presence of thousands of human-dragon pairs spread across multiple star systems. Each bond was unique, but all were connected by the same promise that had started everything. No matter how dark the universe became, no matter what enemies they faced, they would face them together. Hand in hand, human and dragon, reaching for the stars and never letting go. The war against the void hunger would be long and difficult, but for the first time in thousands of years, both species had something their enemy could never understand or defeat. Hope that grew stronger every time it was shared. And in a universe where loneliness had been used as a weapon for too long, that hope would prove to be the most powerful force of all.